This is a very ambitious piece of legislation, a weighty piece of legislation, and huge chunks of it most of us can agree on. But there is anxiety in the creative industries and in the media, particularly the local media, which have had a very torrid time over the last few years through Brexit, through the pandemic. And I want to thank UK Music, the News Media Association and Directors UK for engaging with me on this issue, and also for the Minister for the generosity in which he has afforded to backbenchers with his time in discussing this. AI offers massive opportunities to make public services and businesses more effective and efficient, and this will improve people's lives. However, there is a fundamental difference between using AI to manage stock in retail or distribution, or for making scientific breakthroughs, which will improve people's health, and the generative AI, which is used to produce literature, images or music. The latter affects the creative industries, which have consistently seen faster and more substantial growth than the overall economy. Creative industries' gross value added grew by over 50% in real terms compared to the overall UK economy, which grew by around a fifth between 2010 and 2022. And that is why the government is right to have identified the creative industries as a central plank of its industrial strategy. And it is right to deliver an economic assessment within 12 months, as outlined in Government Clauses 6 and 17. I welcome all that. I know it is not the government's intention to deal with copyright and licensing as part of this bill, but because of that anxiety in the sector, these issues have become conflated, and scraping is already happening without transparency, permission or remuneration in the absence of a current adequate framework. And the pace of change in this sector and the risks of tariffs from across a pond means that it is imperative that we deal with the threat this poses to the creative industries as soon as we can. We are now facing 100% tariffs on UK films going to the USA, which increases this imperative. I welcome the government's commitment to engage with the creative industries and implement a programme to protect the creative industries following its consultation. And I would welcome an overview from the Minister in his summing up about the progress that is being made with that. But the more we delay, the worse the impact could be on our creative sector. I'm also concerned that in the government's correct mission to deliver economic growth, it may inadvertently compromise the UK's robust copyright laws. Instead, we should seek to introduce changes so that creatives' works cannot be scraped by big AI firms without providing transparency or remunerating the creatives behind it. Failure to protect copyright is not just bad for the sector as a whole, or the livelihoods of authors, photographers, musicians and others. It is bad for our self-expression, how robust this sector can be, and how it can bring communities together and invite us to ask the big questions about the human condition. Allowing creators to be uncredited or undercut would leave their work stripped of attribution, their livelihoods diluted, and a wave of synthetic imitation which will disrupt the creative market enormously. We are not talking about this enough. I know it is tempting to lure the big US AI firms into the UK, giving the economy a sugar rush and attracting billions of pounds worth of data centres. Yet in the same breath, we risk significantly draining economic value from our creative industries, which are one of the UK's most storied and pillars of our soft power. None of this is easy. The EU has grappled with creating a framework to deal with this for years without finding an equitable solution. I do not envy what the government must navigate. However, I would also like to ask the Minister where the reports that the government is moving away from an opt-out system for licensing, which emerged over the weekend, which creators also say will not work, is now perhaps going to be the government's position. So harnessing the benefits of AI, economic, social and innovative, while ensuring the rights of creatives are protected, is not something which is diametrically opposed. And we must ensure transparency in AI, as covered in new Clause 4, so that the tech companies, some of which are in cahoots with some of the more troubling aspects of the US administration, do not end up with the power to curate an understanding of the world which reflects their own peculiar priorities. Big AI says transparency will effectively reveal their trade secrets, but that not need necessarily be the case, as my honourable friend from South Derbyshire previously said. A simple mechanism to alert creators when their content is used is well within the abilities of these sophisticated companies. They just need prodding by the government to do it. And I know the government is working hard and it cares passionately about the sector, the economic and social value it brings. So I look forward to hearing about how the government will move at pace to address the concerns I've outlined, even if it cannot do it through the bill.